Ring, the Japanese version, the movie that started a gigantic explosion of what eventually became known as J-horror. Yeah, all those horror films that you've seen come out since 1998 that featured a woman with long hair crawling around on the ground in a weird, strange, deformed way, yeah, they copied off this movie. This film started a huge trend and still to this day is the highest grossing Japanese horror film of all time. And of course it got an American remake, which I'm also going to be reviewing because the newest Rings film, the third in the American franchise, is coming out this October. So I thought it would be fun to talk about a select few of the movies that are in this franchise because there's actually a lot of other ones that were released in Japan, various spin-offs of sorts. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I'm definitely going to review this one, the American remake, and the American Ring 2. Look forward to that. Let's start talking about Ring. This movie scared the shit out of me. I'm serious. This movie is so absolutely unnerving. There's a very low budget sense to this film that really works in its favor. It's also edited and directed very tensely. It's a very quiet film. Sound design is extremely important in this movie. Jump scares are kept at a wonderful minimum. There's barely any actually. There's a lot of sequences where you would expect a loud burst of music, like moments where the main heroine sees someone reflected in her television screen. But you don't get that burst of music, you just see it and it's very unsettling. And that feeling of creepiness infects this entire film. As I watched it, I began to grow warm inside. But it wasn't like Happy Sunshine Rainbows warm. Morgan Freeman being my grandpa and reading me a bedtime story warm. No, not like that. It was weird. I can't actually explain it. And that's one of the biggest things about this movie that I think is so effective. It leaves you feeling off. It just makes you feel changed. And this film really did that to me. If you guys have seen the American remake, I'm not going to talk about comparisons in this video because this movie came before it. I'm going to act like the American remake doesn't even exist when I review this movie. But if you've seen it, you know the plot. A cursed videotape is being spread amongst people. When you watch this tape, you supposedly die in 7 days. And our main two characters, a woman and a man who are at one point in time married, who do have a son together, watch this tape together and embark on a mystery to discover why this tape is killing people and what is really behind the images shown in this video. It's very well paced if you appreciate slow burning horror. If you like a movie that takes its time to set up its characters, to set up the scares, if you like a horror film that really sneaks underneath your skin and surprises you in various ways, then this movie is definitely going to give you the goosebumps because my God, it really did for me. And I am not usually rattled by horror films because I've seen so many of them. A lot of people talk about, oh, I was afraid to look in my closet at night or I had to turn all my lights on. That doesn't usually happen to me, but last night when I watched this movie, it was at night, I was alone in the house, my wife was out doing something else, and I just had this sudden feeling, oh my God, I'm alone in this house. This movie made me realize that. Rarely do I ever feel that from a horror film. There's a tragic sense to the story that unfolds that makes it feel more impactful than just some scary thing someone watches on a tape. The main couple and their past is always something that's very central to their characters, and the film has a really good sense of tragedy. And that's really what makes this movie work beyond just the scare element. There's a very sad feeling to things that you uncover in this film. As for issues with this film, something that did bother me is that the husband character often is the exposition mouthpiece. Various scenes are just him sitting down explaining this woman's past as they uncover it, and I wish that there was a more interesting way for them to have conveyed that to us as audience members beyond him just sitting there constantly explaining this backstory to us, because it makes the main character a little less interesting because she doesn't figure out that much on her own. She kind of just exists to be the audience character that is experiencing all of these weird things for the first time, and she reacts to it in a way that we can understand. So I suppose my biggest issue with this movie, along with that unnecessary constant exposition, is that the main character just isn't as interesting as she could have been. Beyond that, this movie unsettled me. It is creepy. It definitely got under my skin. It is a very good low-budget Japanese horror film. I highly recommend checking out Ring, and I'm going to give it an A. So guys, like I said, I want to review a select few of the Ring films leading up to the newest Rings coming out later in October. You guys are the best. Look forward to more of those. Thank you so much as always for watching. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.